little more than 2 weeks until the election. We are at our studios at the University of Central Missouri for This Week in Missouri Politics, joined by one of my favorite people in Missouri politics, Elad Gross, the Democratic nominee for Attorney General. Thank you for making the time.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
How's the race going?
Good. It's been very, very busy, getting around the state quite a bit, driving a whole lot. So, yeah, we're talking to a lot of folks. We've got a ton of volunteers, most voter contacts in the state. Yep. Statewide right now, so we're pushing pedal to the metal right now.
The truth is, I've always admired you because you go places, and I understand why, but a lot of Democrats don't travel to some of the places you do. Yep. I've always had a high regard for you because you get off of 70 and see the state. What are you hearing out there?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I talk to a lot of folks. A lot of people, unfortunately, they don't know what the Attorney General's office does for them, and I think that's kind of a sad state of where we are right now. Folks should know who our Attorney General is, what the attorney is doing for us, and so I mean it's a lot of education about what that office can do for folks, but yeah, a lot of people, I mean, kind of the same issues really wherever you are in the state. People hate the scam calls that they're getting. They want someone to deal with corruption in government. They want to make sure oh, please.
Fundraising text, right? Those are different.
Well, so those those are, no, actually somebody did complain to me, and I said, well, thankfully, like, we don't send those automated ones where it's a pretend for me. I just nixed one of those today because I don't like those. I don't like getting them, so I think that we should be very transparent in our government. I think we should do that in our campaigns too. So no, actually we have actual volunteers sending those things, so if you get one from us, please be nice to the person who's sending them to you.
So we talk about scam calls though. Yeah. Is there anything more annoying? Like, I actually had my phone set to where no one could call me, then nobody could get a hold of me. Right. So I unset it lately, and now I'm getting calls from all these just junk calls. And you'd think, you know, we're used to them on our home phones, but then we got rid of home phones and have cell phones. It was a benefit, but kind of not.
Yeah, right, yeah. So now, I mean, our phones are basically unusable in so many circumstances. Now you see a number, it's like, I'm not picking that up, and I don't get the benefit of doing that because I have to answer the calls that are coming to me right now. But yeah, unfortunately, I've gotten a lot of scams. I've heard a lot of different ones. And now with AI and the voices that folks can do with that, it's pretty scary what people can scam you out of right now.
You've discussed having a public corruption unit inside the Attorney General's office. What would that look like?
Yeah, so I think, look, I think that right now, Missouri is one of the minority of states that doesn't have a civil rights division to prevent government abuses generally. So I'm looking at a unit that would probably be under that division, and that would consist of attorneys who are focused on making sure our taxpayer dollars are going where they're supposed to. I think one of the most powerful cooperative efforts in Missouri government could be between the Attorney General and the state auditor, because now you've got an auditor who's able to investigate where the money's going, how it's being spent or misspent, and the Attorney General can help with those prosecutions. So that's how I really envision it. I think we've got a good state auditor here in Missouri, and I would be happy to work with him on those issues.
Let's talk about the Democratic Party in the state. You get around, like I said, to places that maybe haven't voted for Democrats in a while. Yeah. I do think the state suffers from maybe a little imbalance politically. Yeah. It's one thing to have a majority. A supermajority, I'm not sure, has delivered the best public policy. Right. What needs to happen to convince folks in some of the places you're traveling to give Democrats a chance again? Yeah,
I think just talking to people. I've had really good success doing that, but I think that you're right. I think that we need more folks. Really, I think whatever the party is, I think that there's some complacency, honestly, within the Republican Party right now, where there's some folks who, I don't have to travel, I don't have to do all of these things. I agree, but you know, I think that you know, such a big component of our history as a state has really been this desire for good government. And we've had some great reformers in our state over the last several decades. And, you know, maybe we're just at one of those points again where we need someone else to come in and really show Missouri what good government can look like. And I think that a very foundational element of that is making sure that everybody's voice is heard.
So from your opinion, it's not necessarily the Democratic Party moving their policies closer to Missouri. It's having a leader to articulate that, to kind of galvanize behind.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I talk about, right? I talk about suing scammers. I talk about going after corruption. I talk about making sure our families are protected, making sure we have drinkable water. And I've given the same speech that I give in St. Louis City that I did at Trump headquarters in Warsaw, Missouri, and folks agree. And I think that there's a lot of divisiveness in our politics that is there because there are people in power, regardless of party, who just want to keep power versus actually representing us. And I think there's a lot more that really here in Missouri we agree on. And And so, yeah, I mean, I really like getting around talking to folks, but I really like seeing all of the opportunities we have in Missouri to do a really good job for people here.
I think if you just ask some folks at a Napa dealership, or if you're just standing on a fence post somewhere in southern Missouri, they'd say the Attorney General prosecutes murderers. Yeah. Talk about crime. I do think there is I think our cities get harped on a little bit, right. But and sometimes me doing the harping. But the fact of the matter is, there is a crime issue, yes. And there are places in cities that your average Missourian who's not political just doesn't feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think that there is a problem, and we have that, but it's not. I don't think it's limited just to Kansas City, St. Louis. I mean, we're seeing issues in Cape Girardeau, Columbia. Springfield has the highest amounts of child abuse in the entire state right now. So, look, my view, and unfortunately, I'm the only one with a plan on this issue right now here in Missouri. One, we've got to prosecute folks when they've done the wrong thing. There have to be expectations, and there have to be consequences for that. But two, I'm a very big believer in preventing crime as well, especially violent crime. I mean, I've had kids that I've taught, a first grader who was shot in his backyard and killed in front of his two sisters the day before first grade. Like, that should not be happening here, right? We should be safe in our neighborhoods. And so where you see all of these huge drops in crime, whether that's in Boston, other countries even, they have really focused not only on the prosecution element, but also investing in those communities and making sure that we have those resources. And I think the Attorney General's office is a great place to marshal those resources throughout the state and get help where it's needed.
I'm not trying to make a comparison, but I do believe that the prosecutor matters. I think Gabe Gore has received pretty rave reviews of the job he's done, and I think that maybe makes the cops a little more morale boost. I think it makes citizens, one, feel a little breathe a little easier, and two, some folks that might break the law a little bit more worried that they're going to get prosecuted by a guy. I think he's a success story.
Yeah, I agree, and I've met with Gabe a few times. I think he's doing. I'm a city resident. I think he's been doing a great job, and it was an office that needed a lot of help. And I think it's great to see all the folks who came back and really stabilized that office. I see a lot of analogs from that situation to what's happening at the Attorney General's office. When I was there, we had 200 assistant attorneys general working for the state of Missouri. Now we're at about half of that number, and that's why a lot of these issues right now aren't being addressed. There's just not enough staff there. And I think that we saw some of those same issues in St. Louis City, and I would intend to get back to a stable Attorney General's office as the Attorney General.
Let's talk about the court plan. Yeah. Every year judges are up. This time you have 2 judges on the Supreme Court, very highly qualified. You have Judge Witt, one of the leading judges in the entire state in the Western District Court of Appeals. What do you think of the plan?
Yeah, so I know, there's some disagreement over it. I like it. It's the Missouri nonpartisan appointment plan, and the way it works is, and a lot of judges are elected at the local trial level, but in some areas they're not. St. Louis, for example, they're not. They're appointed. So the bar selects. There's a lot of interviews, and folks apply. A lot of qualified people who don't get to make it, and a lot of who do. And then there's a panel that's sent to the governor, and then the governor chooses one of those people. I think that we've had a lot of great appellate judges in Missouri. I think we've got a lot of great people to select from. So I'm a fan of the plan.
I like the part about it. We're the show me state, right?
Yeah.
You have to be governor for 8 years to really effectuate those panels. But and if the Democrats were to win the governorship, that would be reflective of the people, but a little bit of a saucer to cool the highs and lows that probably fit the judiciary, I think. Yeah,
and look, I think that we've seen in other states where all of these judges are popularly elected and they're running on some party or whatever else it might be, and you get a politicized bench. That's probably the last thing that you want in your judiciary.
Let's talk about one thing that's not political, and I think we're about to have an appearance by the one and only Liberty Bell.
Oh yeah, she's way more.
Can we bring her out?
Yeah, this is the campaign right here. You want to see her? Oh, hi, Bubba. Oh, do you like your new friend?
Now, the name is Liberty Bell, correct?
This is Liberty Bell, yeah. She is way more popular than me. She's traveled almost as much as I have around the state. She's a puppy mill rescue, little mama. And, yeah, everybody, I mean, I didn't bring her to an event last night, and they got pissed off at me for not bringing her, so.
Well, yeah, I think once you get known for that, then you can't back off, right? You've got to lean into it.
She's got these little stickers now of her. She's a cartoon. I mean, look at this. Like, this is absolutely insane.
Okay, now that's
you
awesome.
Can have this. This is for you.
What are you talking about? Of course, I've got to put this on.
Yeah.
So Liberty Bell, now what kind of puppy is it?
That's the biggest controversy on the campaign. I haven't revealed this yet. Should I make the reveal on your show right now?
Absolutely.
Okay, so they told us she was a Shih Tzu at the pound, and I went to the Trump headquarters. They said, that's not a Shih Tzu, sir. 35% Chihuahua. She's 7 different dogs, so apparently when you mix 7 dogs together, you get a Shih Tzu. Who knew?
Dumb and Dumber has a line about that. But Elad Gross, thank you so much for joining us. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to be right back with our Opinion Maker panel. One of the most respected members of the Missouri legislature, Brad Pollitt, joins us after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
I've been teaching for 22 years. I'm also the mom of a 9th and 6th grader. Education is really important to me, and that's why I'm voting for Amendment 2. By legalizing sports betting, Amendment 2 will generate more than $100 million for our schools over the next 5 years. Amendment 2 will help pay excellent teachers more, and it will improve our schools. Take it from this classroom teacher. Amendment 2 is the right thing to do.
We have 2 beautiful boys, but along the way, we had 3 miscarriages. I'll never forget the day the ultrasound tech just left the room. There was a complication. An abortion was the right decision for us, a private medical decision. Missouri's abortion ban is terrifying. There are no exceptions, and doctors can't provide care to women miscarrying. Vote yes on Amendment 3 because these decisions belong to us, not politicians.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri Politics, election season opinion maker panel time. Adam Sommer, thanks so much for making the time.
Good to be here as always.
Manny Abarca, the Jackson County Council, thanks so much for returning to your alma mater, right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate the time. Rising star in the Republican Party. You're going to hear his name first here, but it won't be the last time. Bill Irwin from Cass County going to take your seat in the legislature in January, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
And Brad Pollitt, Sedalia's own. Representative, let's talk Amendment 3. You see, just from a campaign perspective, obviously abortion's its own issue in Missouri politics. It kind of cuts its own path. On the pro-choice side, though, you do see everybody lined up behind this measure. You see it extremely well funded. And on the anti-Amendment 3 side, you do see, well, not as much money. And let's be honest, I mean, the pro-life cause is at each other's throat all the time. It feels like a pessimistic fight, but it looks like some of the legislators are actually leading the pushback against. How you feeling 2 weeks out?
Well, I feel good. I really do. I see a lot of signs out there. I see a lot of positive. We jump right into the fire here, and from our perspective, that amendment starts with pregnant person instead of woman and goes downhill from there. In our opinion, I think you can always have a conversation about whether we should have a exception for rape or incest, but this amendment goes way beyond that. As far right as many people think that our law is now, this is further left and further than that.
And those that are popping the champagne corks early on Amendment 3 on the yes side, I remember Cleaner Missouri. There was no money behind that campaign. It was really an effort led by House members in their local districts. basically without a lot of money to be on the air, just one-on-oneing, and I didn't expect that thing to win, and it did. I mean, and also you'd much rather be campaigning for a no than a yes. Missourians kind of reflexively like to vote no.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when they see amendments, they automatically just say, well, I don't want to read the whole thing, I'm going to vote no because I don't know what's in there. But I would agree with you that Cleaner Missouri was led by senators and representatives, and there wasn't a lot of money. Now there's a lot of campaign signs out there that Right to Life has come up with and helped with that that issue, but I do feel good. I'm disappointed when I hear that 50% of the Christians in the United States may not vote in this election. That really disappoints me. If we want to make a difference in our beliefs, then we need to vote. That's part of our responsibility, one way or another.
Doesn't change politics if you show up on Sunday and don't show up on Tuesday, right? But I do think your average Missourian, I think there's a large segment of folks that just think this particular law on abortion is too far. I think there's a lot of pro-life people that are going to vote for this because they're pro-life, but maybe they're not this pro-life, right?
Right. I mean, if you're looking at me as the Catholic that I am, I'm going to make sure and give women the bodily autonomy they deserve for this state. And I think nationally we're being looked at, just like Kansas was, to see where we're going in the future based upon Amendment 3. So it's going to be interesting.
Adam, where do you see this? I mean, I think the argument against it would be, okay, your average person probably, I could see them saying this is a little too far pro-life where you got the law now. I think maybe there's an argument to say this amendment's a little too far the other way for where your average person is.
I think if you don't read the amendment and you just go off of the opinions that are being shared that have nothing to do with the text of the amendment, I think that argument would be right. But if you read the actual amendment, that argument doesn't hold any more water than this cup does. It just doesn't make any sense. The actual amendment itself is more limited than I think people realize. It also doesn't do most of the stuff that it's being alleged to do. We hear a lot about arguments that have to do with nothing to do with abortion, by the way. Other arguments, none of that's in there. So I don't think it goes that far to the left at all. And to suggest that it's as far left as it is right, well, you can't get any more right than we are now.
Well, that's actually a fair point. But who reads all that? I don't read any of this. I read the top line, maybe.
Well, sure, and that's why you put the part about, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but that's why you put ranked choice voting under the part that people might actually read to try to hide it.
That's right. Representative, in your area, I mean, you get in Jackson County, it's going to pass. It's just, does it pass by a huge amount to rack it up? I assume in Cass County, there's probably a pretty good debate, right?
There's a good debate, and I would argue that this is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is an evangelical Christian issue, and it's real easy to see what God says about it if they're willing to look at it. I disagree with you on that it's more's in it than not. I'd say it's a very poorly written bill that opens a Pandora's box on a lot of negative things.
Thankfully, it's not a bill, though. It's an
amendment. Thank you.
That's right in the Constitution. Representative, let me ask you, though, if this does pass and it's close, I mean, let's be honest, the pro-life community, the only thing they hate more than abortion is other pro-lifers. I mean, they've spent the last 6-7 years attacking anybody that's pro-life that didn't just march right to the beat of their drum. It is not exactly a movement of happy people you want to be a part of. And I think if this passes, that's going to be part of the reason why.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. My concern is it says human reproduction. And to me, I think that has to do with interpretation of whether that just means abortion or whether that means other things when it comes to our transgender policies that we've passed and whatnot, whether that's going to be affected with that.
All right, Manny, since you're here, we got to talk a little Chiefs and Amendment 2.
By all means.
I just don't understand this. You have all these folks that run for the legislature on liberty and freedom, but then they say you can't lay $20 on the Chiefs. It's like they want you to have liberty and freedom only on the things they want, but if you want to do something they don't like, well, freedom stops at their opinions. Is Amendment 2 going to pass?
I think it will. I mean, I think it's ultimately new revenue that you're looking at for the state. So I think people are going to want to be able to bet, especially if you can just cross the state line in Kansas and do it anyways. So, I mean, for me on the state line in Jackson County, I think it passes there easily.
Does anybody care where the money goes? I think people just think they'd rather just bet on Mizzou to cover the spread, right? And who is somebody else to tell you that you can't?
I think that one does fall into the bucket of how closely do people really pay attention. And everybody likes the idea of funding for education. I think anybody who has paid enough attention knows that probably means that it's going to just suck money from the budget somewhere else. It's probably not going to really make things better overall, but at the end of the day, I think the freedom argument, I think Amendment 2 and 3 both go into the freedom bucket to me, and it's a very simple thing.
Representative, you guys struggle with this forever. It's odd we're talking about this here in Johnson County, the kind of the epicenter of where the sports betting thing could never quite get around. But the truth is, I don't understand your colleagues that run on freedom and liberty, but only the freedom and liberties they want you to have. I don't understand the person that thinks that the little pittance of money you get that's not taxed away, you should get to spend it how you want, shouldn't you?
Well, you know, what I tell people that ask me about this, it says it says $0 to $100 million to go into education over 5 years. The department's budget's $10 billion, so $20 million a year is nothing, to be honest with you, when it comes to a $10 billion budget. So what I tell people is, don't look at where if the money goes any place or not. Just look at, do you believe people should be able to bet on sports or not, and vote that way, and not where the money's going.
But Irwin, what do you think? I mean, I'm not much of a gambler, mostly because I'm cheap, but I just don't know why I should tell you that you can't gamble.
And I'd agree with it. This is one of those sin taxes that it's nothing. I can't find anything in here that says we can't gamble. And if you want to put a couple dollars on the Chiefs or whatever, I'm not against that. The only thing that I'm kind of opposed to this on is that the machines that are not getting looked at and not getting an overview, like our the
BLT machines in the gas station?
Yes. And then all the expenses in this bill or amendment says that the money goes to however the people need to make sure their machines are done right. So, you know, I'm not really for or against, but we ought to have the money not going to just all the something like Ukraine that we don't know where it's going.
With two key questions for two people we're fortunate to have here. Representative Pollitt, will this money go to education, in your opinion?
Yes, I believe it will. And you know, one thing that when we first passed gambling in the state of Missouri, it went into general revenue. Well, we've changed that. It goes into the lottery special fund, or what we call in education the Children's Trust Fund. Last year, $241 million was dispersed out of that fund on a per pupil basis around the state to every student in the state in public education, which was about $350 per student. So it's not a lot of money, but it is. And so when it first passed, maybe prior legislation or legislators took that money and used it to fund the foundation formula. Now it goes into the special fund where it can't be used for that.
Will this money that comes to the Chiefs be part of a package that keeps the Chiefs in Missouri?
I hope so. I mean, I think Clark Hunt's comments kind of allude to doubling down on Missouri, which was a great thing to hear. And that's credit to the leadership in the House and the Senate. So we'll see.
All right, let's talk judges. The thing that people don't talk a lot about is the retention of judges. You've got two Supreme Court judges, Judge Gooch, Judge Broniak, and then you have, I think, we're in the Western District, we're recording this today, one of the best judges in the whole state, Gary Witt's up for retention, a few others as well. You're an attorney, Adam. Break down what this means to retain or not to retain a judge.
Yeah, and I'll be careful. I don't have any cases pending in front of any of them right now, so I want to be careful about that.
None of my crimes are in front of me I know of. So,
but you know, the reality is that the Missouri court plan, it's a good plan, and it's been working well for a long time. And it's a little bit complicated. We don't have that kind of time today to go into all of it, but essentially it allows for appointment of judges, and then we, the people, get to decide are they doing a good enough job to stay on or not. And it avoids us having political campaigns of judges. There are some who would say that, well, we still have judges making political decisions. And I think the abortion case that we had come down here, I think some folks have looked at that and said, we think there's some political decisions being made here. And so there's a lot of people making a lot of hay about retention votes and whether or not we should vote to retain or not.
Representative, it does seem to me this argument of the court plan bubbles up every so often, but while it's bubbling up, you have three terrific judges on the ballot to retain. I mean, if these three judges aren't retained, you question the process.
Yeah, and I question the process a little bit anyway. You know, we've got all these amendments, we've got all these judges. People really have to do their homework, and I've kind of said that when it comes to having us vote on statewide judges and not just your local judges, it's like asking the freshmen in the Republican caucus to vote on leadership when they don't know anything about the person they're really voting on. And you really have to do your homework. I appreciate things that you've said. You've done your homework, you know, and the average person has to do a lot of reading and a lot of homework to understand whether these folks are have the same values they have.
Well, I think the judges are retained because people don't have the time to do that homework, and I think most of the time the judiciary is pretty popular. If you got everything just what you wanted, it wouldn't be a judiciary; it'd be a political rally, right? When you break it down, what do you think? Vote on the judges or not?
I think the voters, and it's perfect answer that you said, we need to get smart, and sometimes we don't know what we don't know. But I do know that how I feel about Amendment 3, and we need to hold the judges, the 4 judges that voted that we're going to put this amendment on the ballot when it's, in my opinion, so poorly written that we need to remember when they come up for a vote, and those 4 judges, we need to remind the public what they let slide through.
So by that logic, though, you'd be voting for Judge Gooch and Judge Broniak that voted as you would have, right?
Yes, I would.
I think the Missouri plan does work. I think it's the show me state, right? You've got to be governor for 2 terms, essentially, and then you appoint your group of people on the panel, and then you see, I think, the Supreme Court, you do see more conservative judges the longer the Republicans have had the governorship.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the abortion conversation now will challenge whether those 2 judges get reappointed from your urban cores. And so this is the first time I've ever seen a vote no campaign to reinstate judges. So that's an interesting dichotomy now.
Purely on politics, not on, are they a good judge? Or they, you know, I've not heard anybody, even on the left, I've never say, oh, well, you know, Judge Broniak's not qualified, or Judge Gooch. Of course they are. Right. They're tremendously qualified. Absolutely. It's just a political, almost borderline of political sour grapes, it feels like.
100%.
Give me a prediction. When this is over, those judges get retained, right?
Yeah, I mean, most likely they do. I don't think it's not like there's a bunch of money behind the no campaign or the non-retention vote, so I don't think that that's likely to happen. And then the flip side of that, I mean, you know, I think the folks who want to say now we're going to do it for the next judges next time, it's a be careful what you wish for situation.
With the Minute Left representative, who won the week?
I'm going to make sure I get this right. I was going to say the Royals, but I knew you wouldn't like that.
Of course not.
Missouri Task Force 1, Operation Barbecue Relief, Mercy Chefs, Samaritan Purse, all of those organizations that went to North Carolina, that went to Florida, that went to Georgia. I just so much respect them and so thankful. And those people that donate to those organizations, really appreciate that. I can't imagine what those people are going through down there.
Who won the week?
All the folks that went down to help in North Carolina.
Yeah. Who won the week?
I think the Hunt family, doubling down and making the statements after navigating some trepidous waters politically from the state and the county, they're suggesting Missouri is still home for the Chiefs. So I think they're winning right now.
That works. Who won the week?
Moms for Missouri. They're a group that got out there and they're doing the work. They've got 30 billboards across the state for Yes on 3. It's a group of suburban moms that all came together because they're tired of extreme politics in this state, and they're fighting back, and they're activated, and they're doing a great job.
I am going to say, first of all, myself, check this out. Look at this Stein I got from Representative Irwin. SEAL Team 1, which I think you were a part of, correct?
I supported them at
one
point. It was not actually... I was attached to them when we were over in Iraq.
Well, I'm very grateful for this. Thank you very much.
Sir.
I appreciate it. You will get to see this on the midweek update and the F-150 campaign tour that kicks off this week as we lead up to the election time. But I'm going to say one of the week, the Wizard, Ozzie Smith. He was in a television commercial for a minute, too. If you were on the fence, Ozzie Smith, right? We'll see you on the F-150 tour and next week here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, and the United Electric Cooperative.